Welcome to the Alcohol Reset, the podcast that helps you reset your habits, health, and relationship with alcohol without judgment or extremes. If you're looking to cut back, take a break, or just understand how drinking can affect your body and mind, you're in the right place. Each episode brings you science-backed insights on neuroscience, nutrition, and habit change to help you feel better, sleep deeper, and take control on your terms. I'm Mike Hardenbrook, best-selling author, neuroscience enthusiast, and habit change expert. I've helped thousands through my book and podcast to rethink their drinking, and now I'm here to help you do the same. Let's get started. So there's this feeling that comes with January, isn't there? It's just quieter. It feels slower, more internal. I mean, think about it. We spend weeks, right? November, December, just surrounded by noise. You got the holiday chaos, the social stuff, all these big expectations. And then, boom, it just fades. And we kind of left alone with our routines. And that quiet space, what it does is it creates a natural experiment. We find ourselves looking at our default habits. Maybe how much we scroll on our phones, or maybe how late we stay up. Or, and this is a big one, the habit of having a drink. And this question just sort of bubbles up. Do I actually like how this makes me feel anymore? Now, before we really dig in, I want to be absolutely clear about the mission here. It's not about pressure. It's not about making some big declaration or guilt or panic. The goal here is clarity, not commitment. We're going to look through some of the research and notes we put together specifically for you if you're that person quietly asking that question. Do I enjoy the downstream effects of this routine? You don't have to quit anything today. You don't have to label anything. You just have to notice. Clarity first. That's our starting line. Because clarity, well, that's what makes real lasting changes feel kind of inevitable down the road. So let's unpack this idea of January as a mirror. We've been conditioned, to see this month as some huge dramatic reset button, a time to declare war on all our shortcomings. But that whole approach, it usually fails. And it fails because it relies on just brute force willpower. January is actually way more powerful when we treat it like a subtle mirror, one that just reflects her actual state. And why now? Why does this happen in January? It's because of the loss of social cover. Think about the habits we talk about most, especially drinking. For 2 months, it was tied to celebration, right? Or for socialize, or just stress relief from all the chaos. The habit it was camouflaged by the environment. But when the parties stop, the environment changes. And the true personal effect of that habit, it just stands alone. It's a simple equation, and it's confirmed by behavioral studies. When you remove the external thing, the celebration, the crowd, the internal signal becomes much, much clearer. So what signals are we talking about? This is where it can get really specific. You start to notice the actual quality of your sleep, not just how many hours you got. I mean, we look at data that shows how even moderate amounts of alcohol really impact the second half of your sleep cycle, specifically REM sleep. And that's the stage that's so crucial for mood regulation and memory. So that feeling that your sleep was fine, that gets replaced by the observation that your sleep was actually light or broken or just not restored. You notice how your nervous system is actually doing. Do you feel that baseline hum of anxiety in the morning? Is your tolerance for stress lower than you remember? The research shows us that while your body is metabolizing alcohol, it's creating these inflammatory compounds. It's using up resources, like crucial B vitamins that are vital for your nerves. Noticing these physical signals, it's not a moral failure. It's not a sign you did something wrong. It's simply your system finally getting quiet enough to tell you what it needs. Okay, so how do we actually engage with these signals? We have to be really clear about what noticing means, and maybe more importantly, what it doesn't mean. See, noticing gets confused with judging all the time, but they're polar opposites. Judgment is critical. It uses that self-defeating language like, I shouldn't have done that, or I have a problem. And that language just shuts down curiosity. It activates shame. Noticing, on the other hand, it's neutral, it's observational, it's gentle. Think of it like a scientific inquiry into your own body. So noticing sounds like this. Interesting. I felt way more irritable and less focused today after that one glass last night. Or, my heart rate data shows a dip after wine. Or maybe I seem to be reaching for this drink just out of routine at 6:30. I don't even really crave the taste anymore. That is the power of clarity. You're just documenting the truth of your experience. Once you clearly notice something without all that heavy self-judgment, it becomes almost impossible to unsee. You're not fighting the habit anymore. You're just integrating new data about what it actually does. And here's where it gets really fascinating. Because our society often tricks us into believing that our habits only matter if they push us to rock bottom. But most people I talk to, they exist in this enormous middle ground. That place where the habit is normal, where it's socially approved, where you're perfectly functional. You show up for work, you take care of everything you need to. And yet, the research shows that even in this super normalized middle ground, the habit is still Bill. It's quietly taxing your system. It's imposing what I call the quiet tax. And where does this quiet tax show up, according to the health metrics? Well, we see it impact mood stability. Not like clinical depression, but just your steady state of emotional balance. We see it in cortisol regulation. When you mess with sleep and deplete nutrients, your body dissolves to a higher state of stress, which makes it harder to handle even minor daily things. And we definitely see it in energy levels, where you might just feel perpetually stuck at like 75% capacity, never truly recovered. And because these habits are so normal, people often just assume they are the problem. You blame your job or your personality or your age for feeling tired or anxious. January is the space that lets you have this incredibly liberating realization. Maybe nothing is narrowly wrong with me. Maybe my body's just telling me that this normal routine isn't working for me anymore. And that realization leads you directly to the core principle of how lasting change actually works. Awareness precedes alignment. Think about it. If you're trying to force change just through discipline, by white-knuckling it, it feels like this endless war against yourself. But when you get that awareness first, change often follows naturally. It doesn't need massive amounts of willpower. Your brain starts making these little internal adjustments once the data is clear. For example, you observe that the drink you have to unwind actually makes you feel worse the next morning, not better. That observation shifts your whole internal value system. You stop seeing the habit as a net positive. You start seeing it as a clear transaction with a really steep cost. And that internal adjustment is alignment, not discipline. You're not fighting. You're just aligning your choices with the facts you've observed about your own well-being. The result of all this clarity isn't necessarily a decision to quit everything. It's a deep, informed ability to make choices that truly serve your energy and your focus. Let's be real for a second. We have to acknowledge that this first phase of noticing it can feel uncomfortable, and there's a real physiological reason for that. Any habit that's used for dampening, like alcohol, it works by blunting your internal signal. So when you reduce or pause that habit, your body suddenly gets very loud. And that initial rebound of clear communication can sometimes feel like anxiety or just unease. That's why supporting your system during this observation phase is so critical. We're talking specifically about supporting the brain's energy and stress regulation pathways. I mean, alcohol is known to deplete things like magnesium, which is crucial for GABA signaling, your body's main calming system. It also depletes specific B vitamins that are essential for a stable mood and brain function. So when you support your body with what it's lacking, you're not forcing a change. You're creating the physical and mental bandwidth you need to just listen steadily. You're giving yourself the capacity to observe without being overwhelmed by the initial discomfort of those heightened signals. Support, in this case, is a tool to stabilize clarity and recovery while you pay attention. This entire exploration is really for you if you're just curious. Not if you're chasing some dramatic new identity, but if you're just quietly asking, does this still work for me? January doesn't demand transformation, it invites presence. It invites you to slow down enough to hear your body's true state, to observe your routines without all the weight of judgment. You don't need a plan today. You don't need a label. You don't need a firm commitment to quit. You just need to notice. And the provocative thought I want to leave you with is this. Sometimes, the simple act of noticing is the single most powerful step you can take toward getting exactly what you want. Thanks for joining me on this exploration. I'm Mike Ardenbrook, and I look forward to connecting with you again soon. That's a wrap for today's episode. If you got something out of this, do me a quick favor, leave a rating and review on whatever podcast platform you're listening on. It helps keep the show going and would mean the world to me. Got ideas, comments, or questions? Shoot me an email at mike@trycloud9.com. I'd love to hear from you. And if you're looking for extra support, check out Cloud9, makers of Daily Restore, a once-a-day supplement to support your body from alcohol's effects, and Rise and Unwind AM/PM, a 24-hour combo to curb cravings, balance mood, and improve sleep when taking a break. Go to trycloud9.com and use the code PODCAST to save 15% on your next order. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you next time.